Hi, Peter here, and today I'm going to talk about the UMDCYL Space Invaders challenge. It's based on the classic 1978 video game Space Invaders. You're the little ship down here, and you can move back and forth, and the aliens move back and forth, and they try to drop bombs on you, and that's basically how the game plays. So this is a UMDCYL challenge, so of course you're writing code to control the bot, to control the player character, what you'd normally have done with a joystick. Okay, so let's look at the introductory document. You can see it's just like Ski and Apple Hunt in terms of how it functions. You set a move, and that move variable is going to determine what your character does for that round. There are lots of elements on the map that you can test for this time. So there's Invader 0, Invader 1, and Invader 2, and those correspond to the different colors of invaders, although functionally they're all the same. Then there's Barrier 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's because these barriers here can sustain damage. Okay, so the barrier is going to change as it gets damaged, and eventually it'll disappear. And so the numbers correspond to the level of damage that they've had. Missile is what the aliens are dropping towards you. Bullet is what you're shooting towards the alien. Player left, player center, and player right are your left, center, and right of yourself. So left, center, and right. So you're 3 squares wide. Empty means there's nothing there. And you can do things like if X is Invader 0, then fire or something like that. There's also the map width and map height variables to tell you how large the playfield is. Now, there are a certain number of sensors that you can use. So player center makes the most intuitive sense, right? And that's what is the first thing that's directly above the player's center. So here, directly above the player's center is a barrier of some rating, probably the highest rating. Okay. Then there's player left and player right, and that's what's directly above the right side and the left side of the player. And then there's these funny ones, player left -1 and player right +1. And what those are is what's here just to the left of the player and what's here just to the right of the player. And again, the sensor isn't telling us what is right here. The sensor is saying what is the first thing above that location. So player center, the first thing is going to be a barrier. Player left, the first thing is going to be a barrier. Player left -1, the first thing is going to be an invader. Okay, so that's how that works. There's also a bonus ship that appears, the mothership. So if it appears, bonus ship X will contain its X position. And like in Ski, there's a map array, which is a 2-dimensional array. It's sort of a grid or a graph that you can index into to see what arbitrary things are too. So using these sensors is probably the easiest way to figure out what's above you, but you can do other fancy things with the map array that are more powerful. Okay, we'll give you a simple example of that in a second. Okay, so let's look at the sample code, and I've actually copied the sample code into another window so that we can see it a little more easily. Okay, so again, the game items, these are the possible things that can be in a space: the mothership tiles, the invaders, players left, center, and right, different strengths of barriers, the aliens projectile, the missile, your projectiles, which are the bullets, and empty. Okay, nothing is in this space. The sensors again you have are player left -1, player left, player center, player right, and player right +1, and that contains, it's written right here, the first item that is directly above the 3 player spaces. Okay, as well as what's directly above the player 1 space to either direction. Okay, bonus ship contains the X value of the mothership if it exists. Otherwise, it contains -1. So if bonus ship X equals -1, then you know there's no mothership. If it equals some value, it's going to equal a value from 0 up to map width. Okay, and that'll tell you where the mothership is. And then again, the game map is this 2D array. Okay, so that's the start of the base program. Now, if we want to look at, here I'll copy the whole program into this window. if we want to look at what the basic program does, first what it does is it sets a random value into a random mod 3. And mod is the remainder operator in division. So let's just see how that works. Okay, so if you get a random number and you divide it by 3, then the remainder is actually going to be one of 3 values. Okay, it's either going to be 0, meaning there's no remainder, it'll be 1, meaning the remainder was 1, or it'll be 2, meaning the remainder was 2. And this makes sense because if the remainder was 3, then you would just be able to divide it one more time and then you'd have no remainder. Okay, so we can use modulo to help us pick a certain number of choices from a random number. Okay, so that's what the base program does. First, it picks this random number and puts it into A, and then it says if A is 0, no remainder, move west. If A is 1, then move east, and if A is 2, move equals fire. So that shoots the cannon. Okay, so then the other thing that the base program does, I've actually modified it. Okay, so this is my modifications of the base program here, and it's a little bit smarter than the base program that you get. So watching this video is going to give you a leg up. Okay, so what I say here is if player center, meaning the center of my ship, is invader 1, or if player center is invader 2, or if player center is invader 3, then fire. Okay, so if the thing that's directly above my center, if the thing that's directly above me is an invader, then fire. Okay, then the next section says if player left is missile, or player center is missile, or player right is missile, meaning there's a missile directly above my left, center, or right, then move east. Okay, so this should help me to run out of the way. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. If I turn this on and I hit play, so you see I kind of move around randomly, and I fire when there's an alien above me, and I also fire randomly sometimes because that's how it works. But you'll see if a missile gets dropped above me, I'm going to go east to try to avoid that missile. Okay, let's see if we get an example of that. Yep, see, there you go. I'm trying to, every time I go underneath it, I go off to the right. Okay, so let's look at that. I'll back up. Okay, so you can see there's a missile above me, so it's falling down, and so the next thing I should do is move to the right. So sure enough, I move to the right to get out of the way. Now this the ship is moving randomly, so it's going to move back underneath, but now it's going to move again to get out of the way. Okay. Okay. So that's the base program, and then the other thing I want to give you another example of how to use the array map. Okay, so here what I did is I set a value. Let me just erase these comments. I commented these out just so that it wouldn't run all the time. Okay, and so if we look at this, I set x to 0, y to 0, and then the thing that we're going to use the array to do is to tell us how many invaders are left. And you know, there's not really a purpose to doing this, it's just as a demonstration. So then I have 2 for loops. So I say for x equals 0, x is less than map width, x equals x plus 1. So what's going to happen is every time it does this loop, it's going to go through every column of the map. Okay, and here, whoops. Okay, my tabs got a little messed up here. That's a little better. So we go for x from 0 to map width, and then we go for y from 0 to map height, and then we say thing equals whatever happens to be at map xy. Okay, and then I say if thing is invader 1 or invader 2 or invader 3 or mothership center, then invaders left equals invaders left plus 1. So every turn I'm going to go through the map, I'm going to count up all the invaders or the center of a mothership, and then I'm going to add that 1 count to the invaders left. So now if we go back and we look at the game and we turn on the debug table, you can see there's an invaders left count here, okay? And right now it says 40, and now if I back up, now here's kind of a fun thing. So it says 39, okay, invaders left 39. When the mothership appears, that's going to change to 40. Okay, so comes the mothership. So now invaders is 40 because there's an additional mothership. And I got an alien here, so it went down to 39. When the mothership leaves the screen, it's going to go down to 38. And there it goes back down to 38. So this code down here at the bottom is we're kind of searching the map space. And 0, 0 in graphics is the upper left corner, and the maximum map width, map height is the lower right hand corner. So you go 0 through map width, and this would be 0, a y value of 0, y value of 1, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of the opposite of what you would have in a math class. Okay? Alright, so that's the Space Invaders challenge. Just like any other challenge, the goal is to get as many points as possible. And the challenge date for you will, of course, depend on when this is being offered. So talk to your coaches or whoever's running your competition to get the date for your particular challenge. Alright, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have fun writing programs to play Space Invaders. Thanks.